Hello, welcome everybody to our webinar about multispectral cameras. My name is Vanessa Donkers and I'm Business Development Manager for DVC Machine Vision. The webinar will take place around 20 minutes. We opened the chat box, so if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them and we'll try to answer them in between. I now give the floor to Pascal, your presenter for today.
Vanessa, thank you very much for my introduction. As Vanessa already mentioned, my name is Pascal and my role is to advise engineers who are using machine vision. But by the way, what is machine vision in general? Very briefly, this is designed to give a computer the ability to monitor a production or sorting process with cameras, lights and software. Most of you will know that. It makes it possible to sort materials or to find failures by early detection. So, okay, we're going to talk about multispectral imaging. Our multispectral cameras are manufactured in Japan by the company Blue Vision. Blue Vision is well known in the Japanese industrial camera industry and member of the Techno Horizon Group. The company is headquartered in Yokohama, Tokyo, and the European office is in London, United Kingdom. What is a multispectral camera? How does it work? And more importantly, where to use? Of course, we made a content. And here you can see the content of today. Let's start with the principles and the functions. Second is to compare a standard camera versus the multispectral camera. Optics will be discussed under chapter 3. And let's end to know which wavelengths are suitable for your application. So light and how light reacts when it hits a surface will be very important during this webinar. But let's go back in history. Always good to go back in history. Who was this man? Vanessa, do you have any idea?
Yeah, I do. But that's because you already told me that. But so I'm not going to answer this. But I'm wondering if one of our viewers know the answers, or maybe all of our viewers. So if you do, please feel free to enter them in the chat box. We are curious if you know who this man was. Yeah, I can see a lot of good answers coming in already. Yeah, all right, Damien, the last one. Yes, the correct answer, Pascal.
Yes, people. Isaac Newton, the famous British scientist who has, among other things, demonstrated that white light consists of different elementary colors, so the wavelengths. When light passes from one medium to another, it will reflect and deflect. White light falls apart in different colors, as you can see clearly in this picture. What you also see is that not every wavelength deflects the same way. The refractive index per wavelength is different. So what has been proven by Newton is now applicable in our multispectral cameras. Our multispectral cameras are using a piece of glass to distribute light internally across multiple sensors. So you basically look at one point with multiple wavelengths, and all wavelengths are displayed in just one image. One image, therefore, contains much more information than from a normal camera with just one sensor. So, just to summarize, display one position in the object with multiple sensors in one image. The position on the object must have the same position on all sensors. This is what makes this camera so interesting for absolute color measurement and optimal color separation. Look here, on the left, we see a single color sensor with an RGB pattern on top. It's an extra layer, and this actually causes pollution. Not all the white light is absorbed by every pixel. On the right, we see the principle of a multispectral camera with 3 sensors. In this example, each sensor only gets red, green or blue, and therefore highly accurate to process the specific wavelengths into digital information.
Pascal, I know we have some viewers who are not machine vision consultants or engineers or technical, really starters at the business. Just to make sure everybody is on the same page, RGB means, as you can see, red, green, blue. Yeah,
this is how they make a color camera. Also, the consumer cameras who you can use, they have a biome pattern on top of the sensor. So that makes the camera, that's how it processes the camera into the colors.
Yeah.
This slide shows the spectral response of a single color camera and a prism camera with 3 sensors. It clarifies that the color separation of a multispectral camera is much better. The wavelengths are separated and will provide you with more accurate data of your production process. A prism is built and assembled very accurately by hand and with great care. The refractive index of the wavelength plays a very large role in this. The prism is also completely capsuled and sealed in the middle of the camera to avoid any interference from ambient light. So I have a nice statement for you all. So Vanessa, show the next slide.
Okay, here it's coming.
This is a takeaway. This is a nice anecdote and for sure always relevant in any case. Why? Why are we doing this? Our mission is basically very simple. We want exactly the same like you. Think about reducing the waste of food, reducing power consumption, more efficiency, quality, productivity, more access into the details of your process. We want to give you very accurate data from your production or sorting process. Accurate data from camera images is extremely suitable to increase quality and productivity. We are able to provide you exactly the wavelength you require to collect the most relevant data. The bandwidth per wavelength is about 20 nanometers. Now you are able to create your own customized multispectral camera, and this with a very small investment. Let's start with chapter 2. So, what are in general the main differences between an industrial standard camera and a multispectral camera? Let's define, with the use of this overview, what the main differences are between a standard and a multispectral camera. Take a good look on this slide. You see, color intensity is much more better with the use of a multispectral camera. Also, the dynamic range is very good. Nevertheless, with the use of a monochrome camera, the dynamic range can be quite good as well. But if you need high resolution and a big sensor size, that's not an option for multispectral cameras. So if you need more precision in detail, you probably will choose for a single sensor camera. Shockproof, processing and price is something to take into account, and also the use of a special lens. Special lenses are required, and we come back on that later in our next slides.
Pascal, before we go to your next slide, I've got a question in the chat box from Jamila. Okay. Jamila is she's wondering why the multispectral camera has a low benefit on processing.
Yeah, good question, Jamila. Well, the fact that you have to read out multiple sensors requires just more computer power and pre-processing. So yeah, it's just something to be aware of when you are designing your complete system, when you take a look for your vision processor. It's something you have to process all the data. You have to process more data than you are used to do with just a normal camera. Is this answering your question, Jamila?
Let's see what she says in the chat box. Yeah, thank you, Pascal. Jamila says that it's very clarifying. So good answer and good question, Jamila.
All right, so we go quite fast. Now we start with a new chapter again, optics. Which lens will I choose? So think about, you are dealing with multiple sensors in one device. There is a prism inside the camera. You have light that deflects due to the prism. There is a distance between the prism, the lens, the sensors. This requires a special lens. You have also to deal with, how they name it, chromatic aberration. The image is most likely not in focus due to an optical error. And I will tell you more about this in detail. So think again what we have discussed about the fact that white light falls apart when it hits a medium. And take a good look on this slide. When there is a sharp transition from black to white, you get purple, sometimes blue or green. These are blurry spots in your image. This is called chromatic aberration. This is caused due to a lens error. Lens optimization, that lens optimization can improve this, but it will never disappear completely. Chromatic aberration or color shifting is an optical error in the lens that occurs because the wavelengths are not refracted to the same degree at the surface of the lens. This is also what you saw in the picture of Isaac Newton. And the only reason you see the rainbow while it rains and the sun shines. So Vanessa, stop searching for the gold.
Oh, you mean the gold pot at the end of the rainbow is not?
Just kidding. Let's go on. Chromatic aberration will occur everywhere in your image, but it's more effective at the corner of your image because that is where you find the most lens deviations. Therefore, always choose a lens especially suitable for prism cameras. Yes, next slide. A suitable lens will show clear colors and uniformity throughout the whole image. The design and quality of the lens plays a big role. Low quality lenses will affect the quality of your image, which results in more software engineering in order to meet your requirements. See this slide where we compare two lenses. The bottom lens is optimized for prism camera. Yes? Last chapter, ladies and gentlemen, which wavelengths are suitable for your application? After all, you want to use a multispectral camera to achieve an optimal contrast. And the various wavelengths have their characteristics concerning absorption, reflection, transmission, and transition. I made an overview. Hemoglobin is a protein and it absorbs at a wavelength of 650 nanometers. It's also interesting to see how sugar reacts in different products, or to define the quantity of water in rice or grain. I give you a brief moment to take a look on this overview. Maybe you see something what is applicable for your product or application. You see how far we can look into the infrared up to 2000, 2300 nanometers.
I think they have enough time to...
Yes, let's move on. Let's move on to my favorite slide.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite examples. Here we see green tea, normal tea, coffee, and brown sugar. And see how beautiful you can make foreign materials visible with shortwave infrared. Look at the gray stone in brown sugar. By using a wavelength of 1300 nanometers, you distinguish the gray stone from the background.
Okay, Pascal, I got another question in the chat box, this time from
nice.
Tobias. He would like to know what you could see if you would use a normal color camera instead of a multispectral camera.
Thanks, Tobias, for the question. Now, well, exactly the same as you can see on the left image. You will see the colors as you also see with your naked eyes. A multispectral camera goes beyond and reveals, somehow the invisible.
Okay.
You will get high contrast. You will get very high contrast, even with materials who are having basically the same color with what you can see with your naked eyes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Pascal. Tobias, I hope this answer is satisfying to you. If not, please feel free to use the chat box again.
Next slide. Yes, rice. Look how well you can distinguish the separate rice grains from each other, especially at 1300 nanometers. At 1450 nanometers, you can see that wet rice is absorbing the light, so it will get a little bit darker, the image. But at 1300 nanometers, I really consider to have a very clear view on separate rice grains. Thin meat. At a wavelength of 1580 nanometers, the light penetrates through the fat of the meat. So to measure how much fat the meat contains can be part of your meat production to improve the quality of your product to deliver to the consumers. Okay, this slide shows how to use multispectral imaging in the medical industry. These pills are all white in the visible light, but using shortwave infrared, you can see dark spots at one of the pills. So that gives you quite relevant data of the quality of your production process. Okay, where are these black spots coming from is now the question. Is this a major quality issue?
Pascal, you mentioned before that the sheet with the tea and the coffee and the brown sugar was your favorite. This is my favorite. I really like how you can see the difference here.
This is also a very nice example indeed, Vanessa. You have what you can see with your naked eyes is totally different than you can see in other wavelengths.
Yeah.
So there are much more examples to show, and if you would like, I can show you more. So please feel free to contact me. Also, when you would like to see some live demonstrations. The question always remains. I often get this question. Yeah, how do I know which wavelength suits the best? Okay, we have a product for that. By using a wavelength variable light source, you move a linear filter in front of an halogen light. So then you can determine the optimal wavelength, because halogen light produces a spectrum of light from ultraviolet to deep into the infrared. During the exposure of your object, you can see in real time at which wavelength you get the best image. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our webinar. I would like to thank you very much for your participation, and I know for sure we will all meet again very soon. Take care of yourself and the people around you. Stay safe, and Have a nice day. And Vanessa, is there anything more you would like to say? Are there any questions left?
No, in the chat box there are no other questions right now. I think your presentation was very clear. I hope it's all helpful for you. Thank you, Pascal, for your insight of the use of multispectral cameras.
You're welcome.
For now, for all the viewers, I would like to invite you to our event Focus on Machine Vision on April the 15th next year. This is a unique event where you can see and experience high-tech technology. We also have some keynote speakers, so you can listen to them. You can pre-register on the website focusonmachinevision.com. And for now, I can only say thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions left, please feel free to contact us at sales@machinevision.nl. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.